I'm Rolf from Vision for Instruments. I'm here at the Waldorf booth at the NAMM Show 2019, and I'm showing you here the Waldorf Quantum, which we released beginning 2018. And it's a hybrid synthesizer, polyphonic, with digital oscillators, analog and digital filters. And each of the three oscillators has four different synthesis engines. We have the classical Waldorf wavetable engine with some extensions. We have virtual analog waveforms with also some nice features like supersaw, sync, wave morphing and stuff like this. We have a sample engine with samples, 4 GB flash memory and granular samples. And we have a physical modeling like resonator banks. These were the four classic Waldorf Quantum synthesis engine types up to now, because we released a new firmware update, Quantum 2.0, with a fifth engine. That's what we call the kernel engine. So the kernel engine builds on a modular idea you find like with operators in FM, where you have different kind of, in case of FM, sine wave oscillators, which are then cross-modulating in audio rate, like for phase and frequency. We extended this in what we call kernel modulation. So each of the kernel could be a sine wave, could be a wavetable, could be noise and samples. And so you could, for example, have one oscillator in the Quantum with 6 kernels playing 6 different wavetables, each cross-modulating with FM ring modulation, amplitude modulation, and things like this. And you can build up freely your combinations and store them as oscillator kernel presets, which you then can easily recall later. So that's why we call also the kernel engine a little bit like a construction kit for oscillators. It's very deep. Each of the kernels has its own envelope, has its own level control over the keyboard. You can modulate all the parameters via the modulation matrix. Each of the kernels could have a separate FM feedback path. It's going very deep, but that's what we wanted with the Quantum, looking into the future and getting deep. So maybe let's listen to some samples, some sounds. We haven't done sound design. It's really fresh, the engine. I just can show you some development sounds I did. So this, for example, is a classic. In order to demonstrate, it's a 6. It could work as a 6-operator FM engine, a single oscillator. Just for testing, we have a classic E-piano sound here. So you could have 3 different FM synthesizers in one here. And if you use 2 layers in the Quantum, you could have 6 FM synthesizers. But now let's try something else. This is, for example, a ring modulation percussion. We have with a fixed frequency amplitude modulation, where you get more crazy type sounds. We have, and this is an example where we modulate the feedback of the frequency modulations from the modulation matrix with 11 O's. Then we have another interesting thing is we can, in audio rate, modulate the position of the wavetable. This hasn't been done before. You could also use the 6 kernels to do additive synthesis to get organ-like sounds. Again, that's the same type. This is another ring modulation thing. We have noise. This is an example of using the oscillator with different type of noise kernels. Or use amplitude modulation for percussive sounds. And for each of the kernels, you see the wavetables here. You can see the, for example, I can choose here the wavetable. I can run through, here you see the waveform and the spectrum within the wavetable. You have graphical multi-stage envelopes here, which you can edit via the touch screen or using here the controls. We have, you can modify the level over the keyboard here. We have stereo panning of the kernels. We can solo out kernels. So it's a lot of different functionality here in the engine. And it's really a construction kit, and we are excited to see what the sound designers will do with it. We will start the beta after the NAMM Show, and I say it will probably take a month or two. And that's a free update for everybody who has a Quantum or will have a Quantum in the future.